Tiptoe around with face of a stranger, quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. He's from the city, she's from the south. Two different chapters told miles out. Their back row living in his White House. So many stories that I need to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. So many stories right in front of me. Some people climb to heights I've never seen. Too many falling down off their feet. These stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Why you're the way you are. Tiptoe around with face of a stranger, quiet observer, never get too close. I see the world, but it's through this window. Another side to see, I'm ready to know. Not every story's written on a sleeve. Some stories take digging deep. Eyes wide open, words unspoken. Where are you going, darling? Where have you been? Stories to tell, emotions we felt, good and the bad in the hands we've been dealt. I wanna know why, I wanna know why
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Silverline Wednesday Night WHAM! Featuring your host, Scott Wakefield.
Wakefield.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Wednesday Wham! From Silverline. We have our cast of characters, our panel of experts. I'll be your host, trying to wrangle them, keep them on track, or actively derail them. You'll have to wait and find out. Tonight, we are talking about what we have learned from comic books. And I'm getting a thumbs down from Tommy. You haven't learned anything. He's already saying nothing. So I'm going to talk slowly. Tommy will have to he'll have to make up something that he's learned.
I've got some stuff.
Good. And we're going to talk about things we've learned, big and small, I guess, little nuggets of truth and the bigger topics. And we're going to talk about the overarching themes and lessons that have been imparted to us from the wisdom of comic books, the often overlooked wisdom in its most digestible nuggets from comic books. So that is our topic tonight. We'll be introducing ourselves here in a moment. I'm going to introduce Silverline. Silverline, if you are new to our show tonight, we broadcast not once, not twice, but thrice a week. Monday night is a one-on-one with our editor-in-chief and a creative from Silverline. Sunday night and Wednesday nights usually follow the same topic. And we just have different folks from our crew. So you are welcome and encouraged to watch those, join in. And if you are watching now, please comment and question anything comic book related. If you've got questions for us, please do that. We are Silverline is a small independent publisher of great, amazing stories, and we have many, many, many more coming. And I keep not writing it down. Coming up in September, mark your calendars. We have 2 titles coming. It's, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Stop me. Cat and Mouse.
Cat and Mouse number 3.
Number 3, and
Trump's number 1.
1. Thank you.
Yep.
Trump, we will. Cat and Mouse. We don't have anybody here. Do we have anybody here working on Cat and Mouse?
I don't know what happened to Alex. He didn't say he wasn't coming, so maybe he's just running late. I know John's trying to come in, so we'll get John in here in a second.
Hey guys.
There he is.
Oh, I can hear him.
John. Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone.
Hey. We'll talk about Cat and Mouse a little bit. We'll try to, and then we'll hopefully get some art from Trump's, I think. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some ink in.
And that'll come up tonight. Those will be crowdfunded campaigns in September. We run crowdfunding campaigns to pretty much as a means for all of you out there to consume our stories. They are finished. We do not run campaigns of partially complete works. We use those campaigns as a way to order your own comic book and all the goodies that can come with it, whether it's signed copies or if it's one-off, one-of-a-kind artwork. It's all there. So that's Silverline in a nutshell. We are a genre-spanning publisher of amazing, enticing, engaging, mind-blowing stories. And let's go on, and we'll introduce ourselves. And I'm gonna, I know, see, Michael, you said you're getting set up. I'll give you a second. Tim, you ready to introduce yourself? We're all gonna stay. I forgot last week. Give a geographical location, because I think it's kind of cool. We're all spread out, and I know weather is affecting some of our southern folks. So, Tim, TK, go ahead. Tell us who you are.
Sure.
What you're doing and all that.
I am Tim TK. I am the associate editor here at Silverline, so I handle a lot of the website scheduling as well as some of the script reviewing and hiring and all that fun stuff. I also run our craft blog series on our website, which is super dope. Be looking for some entries from the people you see here tonight in the coming months. And what else to do? I produce the Wednesday night show. I'm doing that right now. My God.
You're doing a great job. Good job.
It's Wednesday already? Oh my God.
I
I
know.
thought this was a Sunday show. I gotta log off.
I'm
No, John, we need you. Stick around.
I'm also over in Oregon, so we're fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Next on my screen, I got Tommy. You good to go? Tell us.
Yeah. Thomas Flormonte Jr. I've been a comic book creator since the early 90s. I've worked for pretty much everybody. Marvel, DC, Malibu, Ultraverse stuff, just small publishers, big publishers. I've done a bunch of the stuff for Silverline back in the day, before this current version of Silverline, including some cat and mouse stuff, the Demon Tales books, just odd and end stuff. But right now I'm inking a book for Silverline called Trumps, based off of the card playing game, where you match up the cards and if one card's higher than the other card, blah, blah, blah. The Trumps, the game, the Trumps. But I'll be doing some inking in the where you guys will see some of that. I'm also the co-owner of the printing company Kablam Digital Printing, which prints pretty much all of the Silverline books. So I don't know if that was a reason why I got hired back on to do Silverline stuff. No. It's because I know Roland since he was little. So maybe that's probably why. No, that's not it either. I don't know what it is. So, but anyway, I also do my own Kid Hero line of books under the Inferno Studios line of stuff. So that's it, I think. Oh, and I'm from right now I'm from Mississippi, but I live in Orlando, Florida. So we're not going to have any effects from the hurricanes.
All right.
Since it's turning into a Cat 5 apparently. So let's.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tommy. And Brent, you're next.
I'm Brent Larson. Last week you guys always hassle me because so I'm gonna I have a lot, to say today. So
we'll get
comfortable. I am Brent Larson. I am the creator and writer of Kalis. I am a frequent comic book purchaser. I am an irritator of my wife frequently. I am a destroyer of my own lawn. I am the master of my two dogs. And I watch a lot of movies.
Well done. Okay. All right. That's hard to follow. If anyone wants to bow out, I think he's grabbed control of this.
I'm done. I'll see you guys next Wednesday, and y'all have a good evening.
Curtain.
I'm just gonna look at my phone for a little while.
All right. Thank you, Brent. Let's see.
I'm from Orlando. I'm in Orlando.
Oh, thank you. I'm the one that
also not worrying about the hurricanes too.
And I keep forgetting. Let's see. C. Michael Lanning, are you ready? You ready to chit chat?
Yes, sir. I'm C. Michael Lanning coming at you pre-ghost form. I am currently in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, awaiting the storm to see what happens. It's raining outside my window right now as we speak. So hopefully we're not going to get too much of it here, but you never know.
You never know.
Currently I'm working, yeah, so do I. Currently I'm working on a project called The Rejects with head honcho Roland Mann, and you'll be seeing me do some of the arting on that, and that's what I have.
All right. Thank you, sir. And then John Medich III, Esquire.
The Esquire is in homage and honor of the new Bill and Ted movie coming out tomorrow night. Bill and Ted Face the Music. So Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan. Can't wait to see them again. My name, John Medich III. I am an editor at Silverline. Also a writer. My premier title is Sniper and Rook. Now available at the wonderful Indie Planet, which is the sister company of Kablam, which Tommy is co-owner of. So there's a whole bunch of Silverline books up at indieplanet.com that you might want to check out. I'm not even going to try to go up against what Brent did tonight. So I write stuff when I'm not taking care of my kid, our two dogs, when I'm not shopping currently for the new G.I. Joe figures that are out, and living miserably in the state of Illinois. Have sympathy and mercy on me, please.
And your internet connection is very good today. Mwah.
Yes, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
I'm still hot spotting off of my phone, so fingers crossed.
Yeah,
Cool.
Cool.
and I'm Scott Wakefield, also with internet tonight, which is
Oh,
incredible.
Yeah, that's
that your
insane.
computer's working.
Yeah. For now, it's worked all week. So, and John, I'm not sure what's worse, Illinois or New York, which is where I am near Buffalo.
Kind of part and parcel, half of one, 6 dozen of the, 6 of one, whatever. You know what I mean?
12 dozen of one, 6 of the other.
Next thing you're going to tell me it's Wednesday already or something crazy like that.
Give me the program,
But neither of them have a Category 4 hurricane fixing to blow through your way. So
True.
No, but we pretty much have a political system that does just as much. That's why Chicago is called the Windy City. You know, it's not because of air.
it's always
because of
140-mile winds blowing through.
No, it's the hot wind that politicians blow.
Oh,
That's and literally that's true. I was
we're supposed to stay away from politics on this podcast. We're not supposed to
I'm
know
talking old politics. I'm not talking current
I mean, that's
politics.
a pretty general statement. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not picking sides.
Yes.
I'll take over. So here I am.
Wait, I want to talk more about politics.
Western New York. My name is Scott Wakefield. I am handling publicity, helping with publicity for Silverline. If you're watching the show and you've got a podcast or anything like that, and you want one of our characters, and I mean like a real person, not a. I guess we could figure out getting a character on your show. That would be clever. John, would you mind dressing up as Sniper or Rook?
I'd be happy to.
Which one?
Sniper, please.
I'd probably go Sniper because that would be easier to find clothing for. Although to tell you the truth, funny story on this one, Rook, the female, that has the staff with the blade on the end.
Yes.
Actually, God, I was still in college at the time. I was working in a comic store. One of the guys made a custom one for me. So he went out, he bought the staff, and he, welded on like this awesome blade. I take it home. Guess who gets pulled over that night? This guy. And the officer's looking in my back seat. I've got like this big blade, and just I'm like, it's based upon a comic book officer. So yeah, I'll be happy to cosplay a Sniper for you. Not a problem.
There we go. If you want to cosplay from Silverline, John's got you covered. But we would happily spread the word about Silverline on one of your shows as well. So that's my publicity plug. I am also co-creator and co-writer of an upcoming title entitled Steam Patriots, and that.
Oh, you're going to show some tonight out here.
I was hoping you'd give me a hard time, Tommy. I was hoping, and I sent some stuff. So I don't know, Tim. Is there anything you can show?
It is up.
Oh! I'm switching over there. So
I don't know how. Wait! I gotta switch my view to. How do I see it?
Me too.
Ah,
I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't get to see. We'll have to go back.
It's just on the it's just on the podcast. I can't put it up on the actual call. It's just on the display.
Oh, I see a page showing up.
So describe
it. He's got a zoom. Oh, there's an explosion in the middle.
Okay.
That's pretty. That's nice.
So this is art by David Mims, and he's on Instagram. His handle is at Mims 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 Mac Art at MIMS MACK Art, and he also worked on a title. I think it's an ongoing series called Scrimshaw, and that's a title that I think Alterna publishes. So. That's his pencils and inks, and then my good buddy Dan Hosick is going to be coloring and lettering, and I co-created with my other buddy Rory, who's occasionally on the show. He sends his regrets to all of our loyal viewers out there. He is having apartment issues right now, and
I hope he's okay.
He needed to take care of that. So I don't know what you're seeing. We've got a page with explosions. It takes place during the Revolutionary War. They're being attacked right at the beginning of, August of 1776. So if you're a history buff, that's the British are landing on Long Island, and that's what's happening. I think they've got a picture in there where he meets George Washington briefly. And
I can only put 2 up because he sent one in a TIFF, which I can't use. It has to be in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm only seeing
Yeah,
Michael.
don't have a tiff about that. Jeez.
So that's
so tech funny.
that's my upcoming story. We will hopefully have colors soon, and that will be coming hopefully soon from Silverline, and that will be told in a 4-part series, Steampunk American Revolution. So there
Your
we go.
project
That's everybody.
looks excellent.
It does.
looks
Looks
sharp.
cool. Can't
Cool,
wait to
thank
see
you.
more.
I can't see it.
It was only up on the YouTube and Twitch feeds and the Facebook feed for it, but yeah, you can't put anything up in the call because I can't do any sort of editing to Zoom's coding. Yeah.
So it'll be there if you go back.
Yeah, you're gonna when this is all done. When you're taking your nap, when you're fixing to go to sleep, Brett, you can go back and watch that. Yeah.
See it. So,
Yep.
so that's me. Thank you, gentlemen, and we'll get rolling with our topic, and our topic is, what have we learned from reading comics, or what have comics taught us? And those lessons don't have to be the broad, world-changing, lessons that span time and space. They can be simple lessons, and little lessons, and specifically they can be from a specific page or panel, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a lesson. It can be. I wanted to talk a little too about what we can learn from storytelling as well. If we get into that, how comics are told as a story, and how we improve as artists from comic books. So we can talk about that as well. So anybody want to kick us off?
Tom,
John's
you
ready
said
to
you
go.
had a great one.
Okay, I've got one real one. Another one that makes me sound smart, but I'm not. And then I got a bunch of silly ones. So I'll go with the real one. The one real one, the thing that I learned from comics is actually how to create comics from reading comics. Now I know that sounds kind of stupid,
No,
but yeah, it's because I don't. If you know anything about my background and stuff, I don't really have an art background or anything like that. I just kind of pick things up, and I'm able to be creative and kind of thing. So I learned to do comics by reading comics. So that is something that I did learn, and people put me in the right direction and all that kind of stuff. Of course I could draw and all that kind of stuff, but that was one of my big things about when I was reading comics as a kid. And I, like the stories and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I see how to draw this kind of stuff. So I learned to draw I know that's really odd, but by reading comics. So that's one of my answers to this question. The other one is the vocabulary thing, all the cool words that you can learn. But, I can't think of any at the moment. So apparently they didn't stick.
Hey, Tommy,
So-
could I throw in one?
You do it. Go.
So
Take it.
actually, that was one of the things I had on mine. So I'll get back to the literacy because I've got a different angle too.
Good.
But vocabulary, absolutely.
Yes.
Especially when you're young and you start reading comics. My parents were wonderful. They always said any book I ever wanted, as long as I read it, they would buy it. So when you're in your elementary school years and you have like the book order forms, half of the class order was mine, because my parents wanted me to be a voracious reader, and I did. So there was actually one example I could come up with a word. I was reading
Excelsior.
That's a good one. No, but
that's the only one I could remember.
I was younger and I was reading an Archie comic book, and there was this word I never saw, Nagalesta. I'm like, what is this? As a little kid, I'm like, Nagalesta, nostalgia. That's the first
cool.
time I ever remember seeing that word. Of course, that's a word that lots of people use, especially those of us that are kind of getting a little bit older, maybe than we want to be at this point. We're dealing with a lot more nostalgia these days. But the expanse of somebody's vocabulary, and then I'll turn it back to you in 1 second. But
No.
vocab,
The other ones were just silly. I was going to sprinkle them in as.
But I like silly. I want to hear silly. But just being able to take a word that you might not understand, using context clues, the surrounding words in the paragraph to figure out what it means. That's an essential skill for any reader to have. So, as young ones are reading, encountering new words, and because of the dialogue as it's going back and forth, they get the gist of what's going on. They can start deciphering the words to identify the meaning without even making it feel like it's a chore, because it's not a book. It's not for a class. They're enjoying it. And so it's learning by osmosis that way, which I think that's pretty awesome. So, Tommy, I want to hear your fun ones.
No, just jumping back a half a second. No, I'm glad that you said all that. All the things that you said were the things that I was thinking, that I was like, how am I going to say this vocabulary thing? And you nailed it. So I appreciate it. Thanks for stepping in and helping me out. Actually, I want to give that a little credit to that one, Bruce, real quick on a side note too. My business partner, Barry, I was mentioning to him that I was having problems trying to figure out some stuff for today. And he was like, vocabulary is the best one. And I'm like, Barry, you're correct. That is so thanks, Barry. And thanks, John. No, welcome, some of my sillier stuff, and I had some other ones, were going to be more of the lines of like how villains killed people and stuff. So what did I learn? How, the cool, interesting ways on how to destroy the earth, how to, how to blink out everybody, with a snap, those kind of things. So I was just going to, drop a little of those every now and again, because you've learned all kind of villainous stuff that was just really neat things that, is this on? Are people watching?
Yep.
No, we're watching.
This is not, this is private still, right?
So Tommy,
nobody
question
knows
for you
about it, Tommy, but so
on the villainous stuff, I agree with you. The whole, take over the world, along with the cartoon, the G.I. Joe comic books, Cobra, ruthless terrorist organization determined to rule the world. But haven't we also learned from the villains?
There you're going. I know where you're going.
Over the world, but stupid things not to do, like, hi,
how
you're
do
in
you
my clutches.
fail?
I'm
how
going
do you
to tell
fail?
you all of my plan and where the reset button is.
That's
before
the thing.
you die, I'm going to turn around and walk away, and then I'm defeated.
So if I were to take over the world and do something crazy, then I'd have a monologue, and then the good guy would come and then clonk me over the head with a stick or something. And then, so that's what I learned. I learned how to take over the world just to get beat at the last minute.
Yep.
So I'd make the perfect bad guy.
You also learn.
But that ensures the ability to be in a sequel.
You also learn from villains the lesson of persistence, because no matter how many times they canonically die or get sent to the Phantom Zone, they're always back 10 issues later.
They come back, and then they fail again, and they try again, and then they fail again, and they fail and fail.
Who's next? Brent, what do you got? I'm going to throw you under the...
So are we just like rattling all of them off, and then we'll each do that, and then we'll spend the rest of the time just making fun of each other like normal? Because that's cool. I just wanted to know if I knew what the format was.
Okay. I think that just without saying it or planning it, I think that is just the natural progression of the show.
Cage.
There are no rules, and the points don't matter.
Okay. Thank you.
Nobody's keeping score.
Reference.
Yeah.
Well, as I was thinking it, I wasn't sure how to think of the question, but one thing about comics that I learned was about comics themselves, which is value is in the eye of the beholder, which serves me very well now. Because whenever someone confides in me that they feel bad that they spent $10 on a plastic plate that really was only worth 50 cents wholesale, I think to myself, but I buy magazines that cost $5 and take 10 minutes, so I don't have the right to judge anybody. So that I learned that quite early on. That helped me a lot with when I first got that little realization that comics. I've spent a lot of money on comics throughout my life, and I could have spent it on something else, but it's kind of what I wanted, and that's actually okay. So I'd say that was a life lesson. I also learned that what else? I learned that no one really ever dies. No,
But
that's
Bucky. Oh wait, never mind.
like I said earlier, I learned a lot of stuff from comics, but a lot of it probably isn't true. So, one other big thing, I actually alluded to this in the column I wrote in Kalis issue 1. One thing I love about comics, and I cannot give the credit to anything but comics in my development, is comics helps me learn that waiting for something is a good thing. You don't need to have it all at once. If you read a comic and you don't know how the story ends, waiting for the next issue is a good thing. It'll give you a chance to ruminate over what you just read, to speculate, to let your own imagination kind of fill in the blanks so that you're doubly startled when you actually see how it out, or maybe your version was better and then you start learning how to build a world or something. I feel like that has kind of been lost a little bit. We live in a world where if you talk to someone about a favorite show they have, very likely they've already seen every episode there is.
Yeah.
They binge watched it over a weekend. It means that in 2 weekends they may have actually forgotten all about it. And that, in my mind, feels like it's too easy. Like I want things to get drawn out. I want to have a cliffhanger that is a real cliffhanger. And comics do that. I really love how comics do that. Frankly, I don't know a lot of other things these days that do. Maybe broadcast television, but who watches that anymore? So
right. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I like that. We've all kind of touched on how the storytelling of comic books, the method that it's delivered, has imparted something on us as well. That anticipation of having to wait, the vocabulary, the way a story, just a whole page or just a panel, you can learn what a word means, or a feeling, or how that thought or feeling is expressed by the expressions of the characters, the action that's going on, and it's interesting. It's more interesting than just words on a page. And what I like about comic books and the storytelling side of it is there's so much told in the art. There has to be so much information that's distilled into one panel, and then a page, and then the thought process that has to happen to distill that story down. And telling a good story is not easy in a comic book. So for folks that craft stories, and I don't mean just comic books, I mean even just the spoken story, and here I am rambling on, stretching this out, it can be a condensed, you learn how to get to the point, condense it, and impart all the information that you can, with the economy of space and time. Comic books can be a quick read, but what's awesome and what film doesn't have is you can linger on a page. You can linger on a piece of art. I have, and I think I say this every show, Iron Man was my guy, and the 80s suit, and I artist wise, I don't remember the suit with the big arm thingies and the big anklets.
The silver centurion, or the red and gold?
Red and gold.
So like Bob Layton, probably.
Yeah, wasn't that Bob Layton?
Bob Layton, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
His art is seared in here, and I don't know which number it was, 282. I don't know. There's a shot of Iron Man flying alongside the Stark plane, and actually Jim Rhodes was in the suit because it was at the time where he was wearing the suit, and that's just like Iron Man. And then when they made the movie, when the Iron Man movie came out, it was on the internet, I would click the mouse back to watch the suit go and because that art, that image of Iron Man, or when he was fighting the Mandarin or Fin Fang Foom and something like that, and that suit is it. But you can linger on that art, and you can linger on the covers. Tony Stark with the bottle out, the alcohol, and the beads of sweat. and the scruff. Those images are there, and especially when you're younger too, it's funny how much time you'll spend with a box of cereal or just pictures. And I still do it now. I love it. You go back and they're there. So I don't know what lesson that is, but that's something that has been just burned into my my memories of comic books. So I didn't mean to. I hope I didn't take over from you guys.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Because I was going to go on to some of the bigger themes, and one of them that I picked up from comic books, and it wasn't just comic books; it was upbringing, but comic books reinforced it. It's just helping people, and not just people you know, but being helpful, being kind, being neighborly, and looking out for people, looking out for somebody, holding the door, checking the seats. Someone stopped on the side of the road, their car is broken down. That's that sort of stuff of being able to help. We can't be superheroes. We can't pick up their car and or push it Flash style or something like that. But we can help people, and I don't think that's just. I'm not the only one to have picked up on that. That's like a central theme of any hero story. I don't know of many heroes that don't. Sometimes it's begrudgingly, but that makes for an interesting hero, right? When they're a jerk, but then they usually end up helping people. Thoughts on that? I'm getting nods. I don't know. It's not that groundbreaking of a statement.
No, but it's very true. It's very true.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was something that I was also gonna say was the I just started rewatching Stargate SG-1 again, but as Teal'c said, the strong defend the weak.
Yeah.
But even in comics, when you get like an anti-hero or someone like a Deadpool or a Deathstroke, there is a moment where there is someone who is weaker than, but they care about enough that they're like, all right, so I'm going to now do all I can to defend this one person.
Right.
And I mean, take that to any other aspect in life, but if you have the ability to take care of someone when they can't take care of themselves, you should.
Yep. And
if I could kind of throw in just kind of like a phrase that goes along with everything you're saying there, that was kind of on my hit list. Really from comics and the heroes who I admired, the Spider-Mans and the Captain Americas. As a influenced young child, they kind of really helped set my moral compass, of how I should act, how I should behave. Like some people have the, what would Jesus do bracelets. Mine could be, what would Steve Rogers do? And really, I do kind of think about that sometimes. It's like, what would he do in that scenario? And most people here probably know, but I don't know if all of our millions of viewers tonight know. My full-time job is in education, so I've been in higher ed for 24 years now. So that moral compass has absolutely followed me into the classroom in every aspect of my life. So as you guys were talking about, the stronger taking care of the weak, well, the knowledgeable, myself, taking care of the people who want to gain the knowledge, so I think that's really has influenced my teaching. And as an administrator now, influences my taking care of the teachers who take care of their students. So I a lot of the moral compass and ethics definitely can be traced back to my comic book reading roots.
So, John, I love that. I clicked around a little bit before we got started, and I found a Forbes article that I was going to touch on, but you that makes a nice segue, because it's talking about the title is 9 Career Lessons I Learned from Comic Books.
Oh, cool.
And you talk about helping people, even if you don't know them. And that's kind of what I was saying too. Putting others' needs before yours, have creative ways of solving the problem. And that's basic storytelling too. If we had the same story, the same problem, with the same solution every time. I mean, the solutions are usually very similar. When we joke about the supervillains having problems, well, the hero has to solve it creatively. Otherwise, we would have very boring stories. So, applying that to us, yes, be creative. And then the optimism it has to be infectious, I think, and that's what makes a great story too. Even with the grumpy anti-hero types, the surly, the Wolverines, those types, they have their moments, and they're not. They might be morose, but it doesn't mean they're not optimistic. Doesn't mean they will give up. Mm-hmm. So that character trait, however it presents itself, but there's an optimism there, and then that willingness to help those that need to help, that you can help. So that's Forbes.com, and then 9 lessons. Let me scroll again. 9 career lessons I've learned from comic books by Bruce Kasanoff. Good stuff there. So if folks want to look that up.
Yeah, that's cool.
What's next? Did I cut anybody off?
No, I was kind of rubber banding off you.
So yeah, the other one I picked up on too, and I saw a few themes from other sources is that everybody's got one problem or another. Everybody's dealing with something, and a lot of times the heroes will have multiple things they've got to deal with. They're always juggling a personal life, the superhero life, and sometimes it's like Spider-Man. It's school, or if they're older character, it's a career or a love interest, and they have those problems. But then the really good stories also show us that the people they interact with have problems as well, and then that's what amps up the hero level. Is when the hero can say, okay, I've got all these problems that they're just being weighed down. They can set that aside for a moment and sometimes outright rescue somebody. Sometimes they've got to kick somebody's butt. And then sometimes they have to be the good human, the good person, and be present and helpful in so many different ways. But that everybody has a problem, and that's something we can take on. Why is that guy being a jerk? Why did that person snap at me? Somebody said, be nice to the mean people. They need it most of all. Something like that. Because you don't know. And comic books are good at that. They tell us, they show us everybody's dealing with something, and you don't know what that is.
Yeah. One thing that occurs to me is something that comics did for me when I was reading them growing up was it didn't just actually kind of going back to the point we were just talking about, but also this one. It's true everybody has problems, but comics can kind of give you a picture of what it looks like to actually deal with it. Yeah. Like I would know that if I was faced with the situation where I could bully someone, I could know definitively that I wanted to be Spider-Man. I didn't want to be Flash Thompson.
Yeah.
And no one would ever want to be that. And if you confronted a bully and said that you're being a Flash Thompson and not a Spider-Man, well, he would probably beat you up because he didn't know what you were talking about. But if he did, he would hate the idea of being Flash Thompson. So that's really, when you're growing up, it's actually, even if you read a lot of books, it's still hard to visualize until you can actually see it in pictorial form. Someone who you want to be is having problems and is dealing with it in a way that is good and not selfish and does help people and cares about how people feel and stuff like that. It's comics are great that way.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Brent. Anybody else before I go on to the next big soul-searching, heart-wrenching theme?
I found a little list here. Let me throw these at you real quick. This is sometimes when you find some of these lists, maybe don't want to say, because I don't know this website, so I don't want to say who it is, just in case it turns out to be a website that I really shouldn't be on. So, but the title of the article is, and I don't know why it's called this, but maybe you guys can help me out. It's 8 business lessons from superheroes and villains is what the title is, and all these things are talking about stuff that you would get from, when you're reading comics and stuff, like Iron Man is always he's trying to innovate all the time. He's always trying to. And then it says, like, for the I'm not going to read all the stuff, but like the Joker, to be to you can now, some of these you take them for what they are, for things that you would try to imply in life, but you got to enjoy what you do, kind of a thing. So that, even the Joker does a bunch of bad stuff, but that's still something that you would learn, from. Yeah. And so, like the Black Panthers thing here is like leverage new technologies, that kind of thing. These are things that fantasies, never give up on your dreams. Captain Marvel, no, Superman is know your strength, know your weaknesses. There's plenty of times where he's had to figure out, how to put any strength for everything. And of course, Spider-Man is the great power, great responsibility thing. So you can get a lot of good what's the word am I trying to come up with? A lot of
lessons.
Yeah, life. Thank you very much. See, you writer folks, boy, I love you guys.
It's fun watching try to make words.
Yes. Just draw, Thomas. Don't talk.
Stick to the pictures.
Just stick to the picture. Just draw.
Well,
Anyway, that's as far as I was going to go with that. I just wanted to throw
Sure.
some of those things out there, because it's like, yeah, all that stuff is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's a lot of times. I mean, when you're 10 years old, you're not always thinking about that. But John and Brent have said, but when it comes to it, when you come to a decision about how you're going to act, how you're going to treat somebody, or even now how you're going to lead, that's been brewing. That's been there. It's been planted over and over and over again, and then it becomes part of you. And you want to be Steve Rogers. You don't want to be the villain, unless the giant lair in the volcano is an option.
It's cool. Yeah.
Maybe.
You just need a hero with a giant lair in a volcano.
Oh,
Okay.
Lava Man. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, being a Tony Stark, that'd be if I had the gadgets. Yeah, what's the lesson from Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark? A lot of money can solve problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course they will
Just
make
not-
you neurotic and
just not
disturbed to the
internally,
point
yeah.
of
Yeah.
being socially incomprehensible. So
Wait, did you say, what did you say?
me, who is you?
No, you Brent, sorry.
Yes, having a lot of money helps, but it'll also make you neurotic and
Okay.
obsessed to the point of being socially incomprehensible and unable to be truly known.
And that's another lesson, that the power, what power can do for you too. And we have to watch heroes that are powerful. They have to balance that. And very often, though, our villains, though, are corrupted by power. Right? That's a good villain trope, but
I thought we weren't talking politics.
yeah. I was fixing to go there. And I'm like, nah. Say, are we talking about our government? What are we talking about?
I'm talking guys with capes and volcano layers. So I mean,
Yep.
there might be some politicians. I'm not sure.
I was gonna say I love the Injustice run, even though it's based off of a video game. But the Injustice run Superman, where I think it was Joker succeeds in nuking Metropolis in an alternate timeline, kills Lois Lane on everyone. So Superman clamps down hard for the good of all people, but you see him just become a rather authoritative figure that the rest of Justice League is not having.
Everything that Lex Luthor had always been afraid of.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually playing that game last night. I was getting my butt whooped.
Nice. It's always one of those things where you can play against bots and feel great, and you go online and you are filled with self-doubt and shame.
That's why you should never go online.
Isn't that kind of the theme of what's the movie Megamind, right? When he
Oh, yep.
gets the powers and exploits his superpowers
Yeah.
for not for good.
Mhm.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, power is corrupting. Treating others as equals is one too. That goes along with helping people that you don't know. If you treating others as equals, even if you are super powered superhero, treat others as they want to be treated, no differently, and that's always a good struggle that we can watch heroes work through. Is I'm powerful and I could squash you like a bug, but I'm going to treat you like either a friend or an equal or a peer, and that goes along also with not underestimating someone, because very often as the readers sometimes we'll have the inside information that that this guy can do something amazing, and he's usually hiding it, and then somebody ticks him off or mistreats him, and they find out that individual does have superpowers. That was often a theme with like Darkwing Duck and Ninja Turtles and the cartoons like that, where the villain he's the result. He's a villain because somebody underestimated him or didn't see his worth, and that's when he becomes the evil mastermind that wants to destroy the city with animate plants or something like that. But I think that's the pilot episode of Darkwing Duck right there. So, but that's don't underestimate somebody, and don't mistreat them, because you don't know what they're gonna, again, what they're going through and who they really are. I'm gonna take a sip here. Let someone else interject.
I think it's kind of while Scott's taking a sip, I'm going to do a quick one. But I think it's kind of funny, Tommy talking about all us writers. But comics got me into what little art I do. I never really took any drawing classes or really got into drawing, but everything about comics, all the heroes need cool looking weapons. That's just the rule. So I just started like doodling concepts for swords and guns and all this fun like fantasy style weaponry, and I still do that and now use it for some of my own stuff. But and I, even though I would never want to put myself out there to draw a comic, yet I do feel like it's something good to have learned, and I picked that up from just getting inspired by reading comics with cool art.
That is one thing that comics taught me, is I can't draw my way out of a paper bag.
Yeah, when I went to school for writing, make a plug for Full Sail here. I honestly didn't know. I thought I wanted to just add to my novel writing repertoire, which I'd not written a novel, but I thought that's what I wanted to do. And I thought this would kind of round me out as a creative writing for entertainment, and with the focus on visual art, the visual medium really dialed in my love for comic books. It was kind of like, oh, I love comic books. Yes. Oh, wow. I really love comic books. And now I can say why. And Roland's class, he taught the comic books, and it changed my perspective. And that's kind of what I spoke on earlier, the craft of writing and writing for comic books. I think it's just so cool. It's so different. You have to get so much. You have to impart so much information. You don't have pages of prose, and people pining for a loved one, or pages and pages of background information. You have to tell it visually and with a few words that fit, and it all has to work. And I think it's so cool. So yeah, comic books have changed my perspective on how and what I want to write.
It's the difference between I get 10 pages of Hemingway talking about being out in the plains and understanding his life, and then the one silent panel of Peter Parker picking up a broken Gwen Stacy, and every teenage boy just throwing the issue across the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid Hemingway.
You know, the other thing that goes along with everything that you're saying, and I was kind of hoping that you would circle back to this because you kind of broached this topic earlier. One of the things that I've learned working with artists on comics over the years, and hearing some of the horror stories, luckily this one hasn't happened with me. I'm sure I'm the cause of other horror stories, but writers who write in such a way that make the job of the artist that much more difficult. Like one panel, as you're saying, so many things have to happen.
Yeah.
One panel, they tell, okay, artists, well, you know, John Wick walks into the room and then he pulls the gun out of his shirt or jacket, and then he fires 3 bullets, hitting 2 different guys at the same time. And they're like, that's one panel?
One panel.
See that in one panel?
Yep.
So, you know, finding the happy medium between having to, as you said, you know, give such description and so much action in a small space, but still keep in mind what's visually even achievable for the artist to be able to pull off. You know, maybe a series of short panels, you know, showing some action, movement, etc. So along with that, I think, you know, writers, if they're very visually in tune, even though, like Tim was saying, he's not an artist, he doesn't want to draw a book yet. Lord knows you don't want me to draw. I'm really good at stick figures, and as a teacher, I use stick figures, trunk stick figures, to teach you the difference between a front slash and a backslash when I was teaching computers and command line interface stuff. But yeah, so the visual folks can get it to help the artists as opposed to impede the artist.
Yeah, and this may be a little meta, but another thing I learned very heavily from comics is the joy of collaboration.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful for the education that Scott and I had. I'm not sure when our cohorts were in there, but years apart. But through Full Sail, and learning how to write a script the right way early on. So I knew how many lines of detail to feed my artist and kind of what happened. And you give them enough detail, they know what's happening, but not enough to really direct the page too hard. And then this is going to be kind of spoilery for Wolf Hunter, but maybe we'll get art for that soon. But I got roughs back for the first quarter of Wolf Hunter. And I just fed him like 1-2 lines of detail per panel, whatever. And it comes back looking like something out of Dunkirk, and it's blowing my mind. I was like, oh.
Nice.
Yeah, same thing happened with me with David Mims. Is I gave him there were some pages and panels where I was pretty specific. I said I want to see Felix doing this, and I want his face to be, because I need to impart that character. And Felix as a character isn't in David's brain, but otherwise, I said I told him what the character's like. I told him who the villains were and what was going on. I just gave him a same thing, a line here and a line there per page of what I would like to see. And it's almost, it came back and blew me away with what he sent me. And as the pages came in, there were a few points where I changed the plot. Something he drew, just sent me off in another direction that would make it so much better. And that thinking visually, and he had that visual. The visual side of it better than I did, and how we can transition from one image to the next to just tell the story too. And within I had an idea that it'd be words or passing something off, and it was just an expression or just the impression of movement from one to the next, and collaboration, and my words going to him being turned into pictures, and then just changing my thought process has been so amazing. I really love it, and I love what can come from working together with the words and the pictures. I don't think nothing else has it really.
You know, it has a lot to do with the artist and the writer together. You know, some artists need a lot of help, you know, figuring out what it is that you want the from the writer. But some, you know, if you've got a penciler that you know, a seasoned penciler, I guess, somebody that knows what they're doing, you know, you can give them those little short things like the Marvel way of writing the script, which is like your next 5 pages is a big fight scene where Spider-Man's jumping around, blah 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 blah, blah. You know, but then you do it the DC way, where it's kind of you know, where you're breaking down every panel. You know, this page we need 5 panels. It's got a perspective shot this way, that way, the other. So some pencilers need that. Some can just go. Some, and then you got some pencilers that think they can go and they don't. But you know, you've got a you know, it's just the different ways that you guys you know, write the stories. I kind of like when I see when it's when the penciler does the thumbnails based off of what's being written. Have you guys had your pencilers come back with thumbnails first before they actually started doing finished pencils? Yeah, that's what I think that's the way it should be. That way, because
it's
you
so
know,
exciting to see how they've interpreted your words.
and what a thumbnail is for everybody that might be watching. So the writer will have, you know, whatever page 9, whatever's going to happen on page 9, and the penciler will just will break it down and do kind of like what's on the screen there, a little bit of you know, what he's got going, where he's breaking down the panels and just do little scribble scratches of what's going on in the thing. Yeah, so that way you don't have there you go. Yeah. So that way he can pass that on to the writer, and the writer goes, oh, you know what? This was supposed to be a different dude. Then maybe I didn't explain it very well in how I wrote. And that way you're not, because I know plenty of writers that are, you know, working with pencilers on spec on these kind of projects, and they'll get back 3 or 4 pages, and the penciler's like, that's not what I wanted, but I can't make them redraw it now, so I'm just gonna have to figure out how to make the story work, you know. And I'm sure you guys have probably had that happen. It happens. So,
well, I imagine there is this, at least for me, when I'm working with my artists, I realize that I am dealing with people who have a finite amount of patience. So I write a description of a panel and they come back and it doesn't look right. I figure if I explain it again or explain it in more detail and they still don't quite have it right, then it's now my job to get work using it. So, and thankfully I'm working with a couple of guys who are so good that hardly ever happens. And I can, when it usually does, I can see how I stumbled.
Yeah, Brian, I think that's more of the case of what you're saying, how it usually ends up turning out. It's the, you know, you get 2 or 3 revisions and it's still not quite right. And you're like, well, this guy is not going to stick with me if I keep trying to get him to, so I'm just going to figure it out, make it work. So maybe that's not fair, but, you know, I get that's kind of how it works out sometimes.
The thing that I keep coming back to with the artist relationship is I actually consider writing a hard job. The ideating, the sitting down, the discipline, all this and that. But the truth is I can whip out a decent comic script in about a week, but an artist cannot whip out a comic book in a week. A month maybe, but it's just so much more time consuming. I don't know if that means it's harder, but it sure seems more labor intensive, and I think writers.
Well, I mean, you write, you go a kid's child, you know, a child's bedroom with play toys on the floor. You know, that was that like 5, 10 words, and now he's going to draw that. That takes him all day to draw. So it's like, and then you go, no, I said child, but I really meant a teenager, and those are the wrong toys on the floor. Like, oh no, this is not what I meant.
Because you got to research what you're drawing. You got to get your references set up.
Yeah.
You want to get it right.
Exactly. And
I don't know if I necessarily say it's harder than writing.
no, I don't think so.
But-
It's just
but
a
it's-
different. Maybe it just takes longer. I don't think it's
It's
harder.
basically just kind of like your method. Your what's it called? The way you work.
Your workflow, the way that it
Work,
works. Yeah,
thank you,
that's why.
workflow. That's what I'm trying.
Yeah, and that's why I think that the layouts, the thumbnails are really essential. Unless you're just gelling, the writer and the penciler and the artist or whoever, they've been working together and they can kind of second guess what's going on. They got it going on. They've already been talking on the phone. They don't have to. You remember what we talked about for these 4 pages on the phone the other day? Yeah, draw that. And you're like, okay,
Right.
you don't even have to send them anything. I've known plenty of those conversations.
My most recent conversation with Andrew, my artist on Wolf Hunter, was like that, where he'll read way ahead in the script and he'll come back to me with questions or ideas for alterations to panels ahead and say, okay, when I come to this page, what if we did this change here? And we'll kind of theorize it out together and work out what what the story between the two of us will come out to look like. And I think that's really dope.
And it gets back to what you were saying, Tim, the collaboration of the group of people. I mean, when I do my own Kid Hero stuff, I'm writing it and penciling it and inking it in color.
Yep.
I think it's fun, but it is a whole lot funner when you're working with a group of folks. When somebody
Right.
you can bounce all the ideas off. The penciler can add to what the writer did, and then the inker comes in and spruces up those pencils a little bit, and then the color, a different person is coloring it, and they and they go, boy, I didn't even think about that's what color that was going to be. I was going to do just shabby green, but you did this bright fuchsia color that makes it pop. That's really good.
But
I'd
that's
have done something crappy.
yeah, like I'm not sure how many other people hear this, but Scott being also a novelist or working novelist, soon to be novelist. When writing a novel, I can sit back and chomp on my cigar all day long, and it's just me telling a story. But it doesn't become a good story until after it sees my alpha readers, my beta readers, and then my editor. And after all those emails they get in between, that's when it gets really fun because that's when it starts to take shape. And I'm like, okay, this is what people are enjoying about it. But the important thing I'm learning is that people are enjoying it, and I can then work to fix it for that.
Yeah, I'm so bad about that kind of thing when I'm doing my own little stuff. It's like here's the story I want to tell, and then I pass it to my wife and my buddies, and they go, "Well, Thomas, why don't you add this?" I'm like, "No, you're not paying me. I'm doing this on my own. I'm doing it the way I wanted to do it. This would have been so much cooler if you had done this." And I'm like, well, "I'm not doing it. I'm doing it the way I wanted to do it. I'm not a writer. I just want to draw this particular scene, so I'm put it in there."
Do you guys want to hear a real interesting, not very well known fun fact that Tim kind of made me just think about right now?
Okay.
When Tim was talking about like his alpha readers and his beta readers. So when I started self-publishing, I came up with the company name. And if you look behind me, it's still on the, let's see, which way am I moving? Backwards. Beta 3 Comics. So now I'm doing stuff as Beta 3 Studios under Silverline. But the reason Beta 3 was the different levels of software. As I was teaching technology at that point, they would have the different beta releases for software. Yep. And usually like the third beta would be the last one before they had the gold code that they're running with and publishing. So Beta 3 was like when a bunch of us were novices, not pro yet. The whole idea of Beta 3 was this is our last stop before we're pro. So as you're talking to alpha and beta, that just kind of brought that into mind. So I thought I'd put a little bit of trivia out there for folks.
Nice.
And not to get too cheesy, huggy, squeezy, lovey feeling, but to apply everything we've been talking about as collaborators. We take the lessons from our superheroes and our teams, superheroes, our Justice Leagues, and our Super Friends. We can't be a bunch of hind ends as writers and scream at our artists. Brent and Tommy, you said, and it's right. So you get your third revision as long as your middle-aged white male protagonist hasn't turned into an octogenarian female Sasquatch or something. You're okay. I mean,
we're good to go. It's fine. We'll make it work.
And we'll make it work. Yeah, we're a team here. You're not. It's not egos getting in the way. And if it's a give and take, so I like your ideas. It's back and forth, and we're gonna create this product, this story together, and that's that. Without getting too cheesy, teamwork.
Teamwork.
But it's true. It's true. We take these lessons of treating each other as equals, being fair and equitable, being kind, and we all have our individual superpowers while we're creating. People who write, people who draw. My comic book would be nothing. Would not be a comic book without an artist. And we've all joked, all of us writers, we can't scribble much at all on a piece of paper. So I'm not gonna make somebody angry with my ego. We're gonna work together, and I'm incredibly thankful. And I felt every time he'd send me something, David Mims would send me something, I'd be amazed, but I was running out of words. Just
cool, neat, awesome.
Wow. But they were. I felt I didn't want them to become trite. I wanted them. I really like. Man, if I could hug you, if I could, I would, because they're incredible and they exceeded my expectations. But how many times can I say, you've exceeded my expectations? But I wanted to let him know, and hopefully, the story will be a success.
To let you know, you could say that as many times as you want to. We'll never get old for an artist.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yep.
So, Scott, going off what you had said, I've got a story for you guys. It's again old Sniper and Rook story, some history background here. I think that you're gonna like, because as you were talking about working as a team and working with the artist, and I like, if your protagonist doesn't change into this radically different version. Right. So I got a story, but first I'll go kind of with the touchy-feely stuff that you all were talking about. A couple things that I've learned from comics. The comic book, and not necessarily reading comics, but creating comics. The comic book creator world is a microcosm of the world. You are going to have everybody like you would find in high school. So you're going to have the popular kids, the not so popular kids, the nice kids, the douchebags. You're going to have everything across, the stream, but usually the number of awesome people far outweigh everything else. So a lot of the things I've learned from comics and taken away from comics as a creator, friendship. Number one, very few of us on this call have actually met in person. I've had the pleasure to meet Brent and Tommy, and that's it so far. And both of those gents only once at a con last year. But you guys are like, are we just going to talk about stuff and then get into making fun of each other like usual? That's, friendship. And that's something brought together through the shared love of comics. I've worked in comic book stores. So that's something else, the friendships that are made because of shared interests. Between creators, the stores, conventions, people who make the convention rounds, they have like a convention family, people that they see, that's
that you only see at the shows.
Yeah, exactly. And along with that, as long as I've been self-publishing and now publishing through Silverline, loyalty. I've had many people over the years that come and track me down at another show saying, do you have a new issue? Do you have a new issue? And, you can't imagine how touching that is every time somebody makes the trek out and made sure to find my table because they wanted to see what I wrote next. I mean, that is so humbling because I'm so appreciative, that obviously they like the work enough to want to come back and to, search me out. But yeah, and then again, about the community. So I'm going to kind of wrap up the touchy-feely part on that, and I'm going to go into the story. So the original version of Sniper and Rook, the original concept art, was done by one of my very best friends, and he's still one of my very best friends today, although we don't really get to talk much anymore. Get older, you get jobs, kids, stuff like that. He did the design work. I kind of explained to him what I wanted. We were in the basement hall of my college building. I'm explaining to him. He's drawing it out. It's, precisely what I want. And he was going to draw, the original storyline. It was supposed to be Sniper and Rook kind of get decommissioned by the government, and they kind of get pulled back into the spy realm, surreptitiously, unofficially, because they needed to start figuring out why did they get decommissioned, and there's some dirty dealings behind the scenes. So that was kind of like the original pitch. So my buddy draws like the first 5-page sequence. It's really, really good. And I give him a call, because like no texting, no phone, chat back in the day, you actually had to pick up a phone. Some people had them that light up, some look like footballs, whatever, it's the 90s. And so I said to him, I'm like, hey, Brian, did you get any more pages done on the book? He's like, yeah, I got 3 more pages done. I'm like, cool, which ones? He's like, yeah, I drew them in a bar. I'm like, in a bar? That's not in the story. What are they doing in a bar? He's like, oh, they're fighting my vampire. They're fighting your vampire. There's no granted, yeah, we're talking, Washington D.C., probably a whole lot of vampires. But I'm not saying any particular party. It's probably equal opportunity blood sucking out of Washington D.C. So I'm like, what do you mean fighting your vampire? He's like, it's really cool, and he drew some great pages that had nothing to do with the story. So we kind of chatted. We figured we could work together, or we could be friends.
Yeah.
So like I said, to this day, we're still good friends. And then actually once he decided that he wasn't going to go the comic art route after all, he bequeathed to me some of his characters, which have become part of the Sniper and Rook universe.
Cool.
They showed up in issue 10. They will be back. So it's kind of cool that. What's that?
The vampires.
The vampires not
Those
in
are the
there.
characters that he gave you.
But yeah, other ones. So it's kind of cool that they get to live on that way. But yeah, so sometimes, very much the friendships and meeting somebody halfway until they make a radical change, kind of like what you were saying earlier, Scott, in passing. The other thing, before I forget, as we as writers explain to our artists exactly what we want, sometimes we have to be careful about language barriers. I'm working with this wonderful guy named Leo. A lot of people in the indie world's worked with Leo. He is phenomenal. He's down in Brazil. And so there have been many times where I thought I've explained something clearly. To me, it makes sense. And then he'll thumbnail it out. I'm like, oh, not quite what I was thinking. And then we'll chat, and then he'll thumbnail again. I'm like, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
So the more I get to do processes with the artists, like his, I'm learning as a writer how to more clearly explain in the first place. So that's always great. And
But that word
had,
means something different in your language.
Yes. And then, even folks who've worked with me, in the US, and it's not like a language difference. I've had a couple, and I had one issue in particular that really was a great experience because we chatted online like every day about every page. And he's like, oh, what about this? And could I change this angle? And could I do this? And I'm like, well, show me what you're thinking. Very collaborative. That was an awesome time. So yeah, there's a lot out there to be said about collaboration, community, friendship, loyalty, and all of those things.
Well, John, on this pinup I'm doing for you for the Sniper and Rook, I'm changing the characters to frogs. Is that okay?
What do you think you are, Walter Simon?
Well, I'm just one step below, but yes.
The one's going to be a frog, one's going to be a horse.
And they're both going to have pink mohawks. Is that okay?
Oh, as long as it's pink. Somebody
Rook.
mentioned fuchsia earlier. That's my favorite color.
Fuchsia.
Rock with it.
All right, that's what I'm doing. Got it. I'm going to make it.
All right, gentlemen, we have a review, and Brent, it's nighty night, sleepy time for Brent. Everyone say goodnight. Hugs and
Bye,
kisses.
sleepy Brent.
Good night.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week.
everybody.
We'll
Sounds
see you,
good.
Brent. And we're gonna go to a review here, and we will be back to. We've passed the midway point, so we'll have a short segment afterward to wrap up our final thoughts after the review. So enjoy.
Hi, it's Wayne Hall back again with another comic that you can order through your store that's an indie comic. I wanted again to talk about young adult comics because they're all the rage these days. And there's one that's doing extremely well, and it's this one, Cleopatra in Space. Mike Mahek is the writer and the creator, an artist, and all these good things on it. This book is available from Scholastic, like Amulet, which is another one I really enjoy. And the reason I'm talking about it, well, there's a couple of reasons actually, but the main reason I want to talk about it is because this is the concluding chapter. This is the 6th book in the series. And it's a really interesting story. Let me read the back here. Of course, this is Cleopatra, the well-known one from Egypt. It says, "The time has come for Cleo to fulfill the ancient prophecy that declares her a savior and a hero, a prophecy she still struggles to accept. Cleo is joined by old and new friends as they fight to defend the galaxy she's come to call home against the evil Zaius Octavian," and I might be mispronouncing that. "The Queen of the Nile must summon the strength to face down her enemy one last time and keep both her friends and herself alive." This book, I became familiar with it when I went to conventions because Mike was selling them at booths at several of the conventions I've been to. And I didn't get it for a while. I was always short of money when I came to his stuff. And his books, they're usually, this one's $14.99, so it's a little more expensive than some of them are. And by the time I heard about it, there were several volumes already into it, and I never seemed to have enough money to be able to get it at one time. And so it took until I got to Baltimore Comic-Con a year or two back when I saw him there, and I think the first 5 volumes he all had, so I got them all. I had enough money to be able to pick them all up, which I really enjoyed. And then I started to read them, and I really liked it. You know, I have this thing, as you well know, for strong female characters who are leads, and they don't get much stronger than Cleopatra, to be honest. So I was drawn to that, by the way, and I'm always interested in a fish out of water scenario, somebody from the past who has to deal with the future. There's a lot of changes that have gone in the world, including the cats no longer act like they're in charge. Many of them are in charge in here, and that's a pretty cool part. And it's just one of those great books that I think young girls in particular will enjoy. There's some romance involved, lots and lots of action. You've got a female character, Cleo, who has to adjust to unusual circumstances and make things happen. So I really liked the premise of the book a lot. And I really enjoyed the whole notion of her being in the far-flung future and having to deal with things that are way beyond her. And she does that quite well. The art, of course, is quite good. I really enjoyed this book. The way that he does the art and the characters and stuff like that. It's a very moving story. Things happen on quite a rapid pace, which I like. And the characters are kind of fun around her. She has a girlfriend right there and a friend who's kind of a cyborg of sorts. And part of the reason I want to talk about this book is because if you get the Peacock streaming service from NBC, you will find an animated series of Cleopatra in Space in there. And I've seen the episodes. On mine, there's about 11 of them. And I've watched them all, and they're very good. There's some differences. Like, for example, this girl here, the girlfriend, she looks much more alien than she does in here. And there's a couple of other changes going on, but the story is pretty similar to what's going on. Now, the animated series is back like in book 1. It's set back in those days. And it's kind of a fun thing to watch her kind of struggle to get her footing in this time. So, and I really like the animation in the series, too. I was reading in an interview that he had done that Mike said that he kind of stepped back a little and let them do their own take on the series, which is fun to do. I mean, if you can do that and trust the people, that's great. I've talked to many creators who just retch about what producers and stuff do to their properties once they get a hold of them. They have to put their own stamp on it, And that makes a big change oftentimes. Not so with this one, I think. This one he seems to be pretty happy with. And having read the books and seen the series, I really liked it. So those are really good things. Another reason I'm talking about this week is that at this moment, I'm scheduled to talk with the creator of this for my podcast on majorspoilers.com, which should post this coming Sunday. Now, sometimes real life gets in the way of comics, so it may not happen. Until I have it in the bag, I can't be trusting it. But I'm really looking forward to talking with him. If I can't do it this week, it'll be sometime in the future. But just look it up on Major Spoilers if you can and see about that. You know, it's tough, I think, at times to put a well-known historical figure into something like this. But I think moving her into the future, I think, was a great thing. I think that she is somebody who is used to being in charge, or at least being raised as royalty. She knows that she has to take command at some point, be in charge. And, you know, at the very beginning, we see her father and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting setup to watch her mature over the 6 books. And she has lots and lots of challenges along the way. And to see a strong woman, a strong female character maybe be a better way to say it, to move forward like that is really something I think young adults can really enjoy. And again, young adult books, every time I go to Target, I see a whole wall full of them. And Dog Boy and all these other ones I like to talk about. I don't usually see these in there, but it may be just the area where I'm at. But bookstores can order them, like comic stores can order them that way as well. If they got to go through Scholastic, they can. I found out about the other books sometimes through the store. It just depends on the store whether they want to go through that or not. I'm not sure. Again, Diamond's set up right now. I'm not with it as far as what they're up to and what they're going to do as far as these kinds of books. But it is a book that I have seen in bookstores, in comic shops. Whether they continue to do that, I don't know. But I would say look it up. So why don't we start to get... I did show you the artwork, which I really like. I think he has a very smart artwork. He does online show like drawings of Batgirl and Supergirl every once in a while, which I really like. So he does the female figure, I think, particularly well, particularly a young female figure. I like the look of her face and the way that she appears and stuff. I think that's really well drawn. So I want to make sure I mention that. Let's get to the grading. The writing, there are 6 volumes again, remember, and the 6th one just came out. I just got this like a week or so ago. The writing I really like. I think it's very well done for a young adult book, which I think, you know, it doesn't talk down, but on the other hand, it really does a good job of fleshing out the characters, the bad guys as well. They're not just one-tone villains. There's other things going on that make it fun. And ends particularly well. Let me say that. I'm not going to spoil the ending. I really like the ending. I thought that was a nice ending, the way that it ended. So I really enjoyed it. I think the 6 books are well worth reading. Even if you're a quote-unquote adult, you can read these and really enjoy them because I think there's lots of good fun things going on. So I would give an A for the writing in this book. The art, as I said, I really enjoyed too. I think that this is a strong art. You know, for him to write and draw, it probably took a long time. But the artwork, I would give another A. I just think it's very strong. It's the kind of thing that would appeal to a young adult, to or of a child and things like that. As well, I think as an adult like me, I like it. I really enjoy it. So I would give that an A. The lettering is something I'm always critical of. This one, I think I'll do a B because I think most of the time it does follow kind of a standard format for the lettering, which I think he does too. He does everything in this book, basically. I love that page, by the way. That's a cool page of her standing out there in the middle of stuff. And I think that it's a good, I think a B would be good for that. Literary merit, I think, you know, Cleopatra being a historical figure and taking her on a new adventure, I think is going to be great for a long time to come. Again, it's set up in a different time, so even 20, 30 years from now, you can read this and I think enjoy it. So I would give that an A. Now, the fun factor, as far as being a fun book, there's a lot of humor in this book. You know, look, young adult books do well to have humor. And I would give this one at least a B. Again, because I'm not a young adult, sometimes I may not get the jokes. But I think it's done so well, and the animation melds with it so well that it's fun to read. So at least a B as far as that goes. Overall grade, A. I think this again. I mean, it says something that NBC picked it up and turned it into an animated series. So I would get this book if you can get them all. I hope they're going to collect them all into like one big book, but I haven't seen them say that yet. But these 6 books are well worth it. If you have a young teenager, particularly a young adult, young kid, particularly a young female, I would recommend this highly for those. So that's it for this week. Be back next time, and until then, keep reading your comics.
Can you see my iPad?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Silverline Wednesday at WHAM with host Scott Wakefield, featuring
Wakefield.
John's dog.
But Masterpiece Theater. Thank you, Tim. I like that intro. I like your styles. That's good. You've got a breadth. You're not. You could be on stage or on screen. You're doing very well.
Exactly. After you come back after 10, it's Silverline After Dark, so you have to use the relaxing intro.
A more subdued
Yeah.
show. Yes, we've all sipped a cocktail. We've had our nightcap, and we're going to have a fireside chat now. So we have been talking tonight. If you've been with us, thank you. And I will reiterate, thank you for joining us. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for our viewers and our readers and all of our supporters. We are Silverline Comics, and we are an independent comic book publisher, and we have we're putting out more and more titles every month, which we're very excited about. We have Kickstarter campaigns coming up in September. Please watch all of our socials posts and go to silverlinecomics.com to follow what we have going on and support independent comics. It doesn't need to be just Silverline. We want your support, of course, but support the indies who are creating unique and new characters and have new artists always creating something new with new ideas, and we appreciate your support. So tonight we have been talking about what we have learned from comic books, what comic books have taught us, and we've gone big and small. We've gone onto the topic of just the craft as artists, as writers, and illustrators, and storytellers. How comic books have improved our storytelling ability, whether that's with words or visually, and then what we personally have learned, big and small. Loving our neighbor, treating others as equals, being kind, being the good person, working together, and then that's from the stories of teamwork, but also our own experiences as a team, as Silverline in the comic book world. And we've talked about conventions and our readers and fans, and how the world of comic books and the stories usually of good that are on the pages, how that actually does translate into the comic book reading and creating world. It's a lot, just good, amazing, great people reading comic books, consuming comic books, creating comic books, and how amazing that is and how fun that is to be part of it. So we talked about a lot of those topics and how our lives have been affected and how we've applied them. And before we cut off our conversation a little to go to that review, but John wanted to pick it up here, and he is ready to go. Oh, he was looking down, didn't know if he was frozen. There's John.
No. I was Googling something, but
are you ready, John?
I couldn't find a issue reference number, but I know the story by heart.
Yeah, John's gonna pick it up. What we've learned from reading comic books.
So, a couple things that stuck with me when I started collecting and reading, the Marvel titles seriously, in junior high. There are a couple things, and as we talked about tonight, not knowing where people are, different people always have their own baggage, not necessarily knowing what somebody's carrying inside their head or their heart at any given time. Don't know if you remember, but back in the day in the 80s, so the Spider-Man titles, you had Aunt May, and do you remember when Aunt May was engaged to another guy named Nathan Levinsky or something to that effect? You guys remember Nathan, guy in a wheelchair?
I sure don't.
Okay,
yeah.
And so there was a storyline that Nathan had a gambling problem, and he owed some people some money to the point where this gentleman, this old guy, obviously old because he was engaged to Aunt May, but then again Doc Ock was too, but that's a whole different story. Aunt May gets around anyway. So back to seriousness. So Nathan, had gambling problems and got beat up. And some of us, and I'll put myself in there, sometimes I kind of have some issues too. I think anybody could have some issues. People who have like weight issues and they want to go on a diet and then they cheat on the diet and then they feel awful. I like to shop. I'm really good at shopping. It's kind of like my number one thing to do, but that's not always so good financially. There's this scene in the Spider-Man issue where Spider-Man took care of the guys that beat up Nathan. Peter chewed Nathan out for all of the gambling debts, and the issue closed with Nathan going to the local newspaper stand and getting the newspaper for the day, and it's like next word balloon said, and a dozen lottery tickets, dot dot dot, and that's how the issue closed. And that just it really hit me about the power of addiction and how people can just be so caught in addiction. It's better to not become addicted if at all possible. But just even something like that. And of course, somebody referenced Iron Man earlier today, with Iron Man when he went through, alcoholism and addiction, the demon in a bottle storyline. Yep. So that one's definitely a very well told, well known story. But just like the secondary character who with like this look on his face of like self-disgust and letting himself down, that just kind of really always stuck with me. So that was kind of one of the life lessons there. And any of you have ever read this, when I mentioned the title of the book, you're going to understand. I learned from comics how even a superhero story that features a superhero that's bit by a radioactive spider, so we're talking obviously that's not real world, right? Mm-hmm. Any of you ever read the book the issue The Kid Who Collects Spider-Man? No. Every one of you needs to read this. Every one of our viewers needs to track this down. I don't care if you buy the digital copy and buy it, don't pirate. Piracy's bad. If you find the original issue, it's been collected a few times.
What's it called?
The Kid Who Collected Spider-Man. So the whole story was Spider-Man sneaks into this kid's bedroom, and the kid is Spider-Man's number one fan. And so if anybody's going to read the book, don't listen to me right now because I'm going to ruin it for you. Spoiler, 30 years later. You just told us
to go read it. What do you mean?
Well, okay, so none of you all listen. But it's so if you don't want to hear it like you.
Okay.
But by the way, Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
What?
Anyway.
Oh, I'm gone. It's time. I need a drink.
So you see Spider-Man basically breaking in, walking in or getting into this kid's window. The kid's laying in bed, and he's like, "Hey, I hear you're my number one fan." He's like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man! Yes, I am." And he pulls out like this big scrapbook and starts walking Spidey through it. He's like, "I've been watching you since the beginning. Do you remember this battle? Do you remember this battle?" And they were laughing about some like wacky villains he had fought against, and they, were talking about like the whole history. And, Spidey's like, "Well, I heard you were my biggest fan, so I just wanted to come and meet you, but I gotta go." And he's about to like leave the window. And he's like, "Spider-Man?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you tell me who you really are?" And Spidey's like, "That's really private because if anybody knew my identity, my whole family would be in danger. Everybody I love and care about, would be in danger." And he's like, but Spider-Man, I'm your biggest fan, and I promise you I won't tell anybody for as long as I live." And he's like, "Okay." And takes off his mask, and he's like, "My real name's Peter Parker." He's like, "You're the guy who takes your pictures." He's like, "Yep." And so he's like, but remember, I'm trusting you. And so they had a whole talk about him and great power, responsibility. I don't remember if he told him about Uncle Ben or not. And the story closes with a page from the Daily Bugle about this young boy who was the biggest Spider-Man fan who passed away from cancer. And so basically the whole story that we read was kind of in between the pages of the Bugle, talking about this young boy, like a human interest story about this boy who loves Spider-Man. And Peter, of course, being part of the Bugle, went to visit the boy, kind of like a dying wish type of thing. Shared his identity with him, and that brought heartbreaking tears, like, for as long as I live. Poor kid didn't live much longer, but that really said a lot to me about the power that a comic can give. I mean, that story, when you read it, and even though you now know what it's about, I mean, when you read it the way it was written, 99.99% sure it was Roger Stern who wrote it.
Yes, it was Roger Stern, art by John Romita Jr.
Yeah, it
So it
was
a Marvel book?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if it was okay.
Yeah. It was so powerful and so well done. That is a must read for anybody who loves comics or ever wants to create comics. With what you can do with it other than hero A beats up villain B. It's yeah. I'm gonna go cry now. So, it touching though, seriously.
Very well done. Very well told. I think it is about time we can start wrapping things up, because I don't know how we follow that. John, thank you. We have discussed quite a bit of how comic books have affected us as readers and creators, and how the creative process has affected us. And as if you rewatch this, if you're not watching this live, go ahead and comment if you have thoughts on what we've said, or if you have ways that comic books have affected you. Please share that, because that just keeps the comic book world together. We all have these mutual feelings about what comic books have done. And for someone that might be new, that's how you can introduce a comic book to somebody. It's not just it's not kid stuff, and some of it's silly, of course. We've got age ranges of genres, but it can go a lot deeper than that. John's whole story about what a superhero can do for a person in a story, and then how that can be related to us and real world issues like addictions and family problems and strife, and doing what's right, not necessarily always fighting a supervillain, but doing the right thing, treating others as equals, being kind, being a good person, being helpful, and looking out for others. Those are themes that have affected us and that have been seared into our souls, and they've affected how we live our lives and how we interact with other people. So please comment and share with us how comic books have affected you. One thing I wanted to two other things that I stole, I think, from the Forbes article I referenced earlier. They talk about do what needs to be done, which is great. And if you're out there creating, whether it's a comic book or anything else, do what needs to be done. If there's a train careening towards a cliff, the superhero doesn't say, "I'll do my best to try to stop that," or "I'll do my best to save the world." No, do what needs to be done. Do the thing that needs to be done. Do the work. And that one person, this is a big theme that's in comic books, and I wanted to wrap up with this. One person can make a difference. So we don't live in a real world of superheroes, but they are a great inspiration for us, that one person can really make a difference. So tonight's been kind of a big issues night. We haven't yucked it up a lot. It's not our normal make fun of each other night, but it's been good. So thank you everyone for watching. Before we wrap up, I like everybody to give a quick plug for themselves. So we all are all creating. We're all out here making a living. So if you're watching, again, of course, we'd love if you could follow us, like our work, share our work, share Silverline with your friends. So I'll start with John. John is at my screen is swapped again. John, you're there. Go
Cool.
ahead. Tell us where to find you and your work and how to support you.
On Facebook, my name John Medic, last name Metych. I'm probably the only one on there. I hope definitely the only one that's the third. You can also find us on Facebook, Beta 3 Comics, and you can find out all the goodness about Sniper and Rook and some of their allies and foes up on the web.
Thank you, John. And
Thank you,
Tommy Kablam, go for it.
Thomas Floramonte Jr. on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. You can also find out all my my self-publishing stuff under the Inferno Studios line. It's at infernostudios.com. The book that you guys, or the page that you see me inking here, is going to be part of the Kickstarter for next month. This is page something made a funny noise.
Oh, see Michael coming back just in time to say goodnight.
All right. Yeah, this is page 14. So you guys see that we're well, it's a two-parter thing. So that means the second part this is part of the second part. So you guys are going 14. You're gonna do this next month. It's almost done. This is the penciler kind of skipped around, so I'm trying to catch up on some of the pages that we missed. So the book is almost done, but this will be this is part of the Trumps comic. So there you go. There's some kind of cool stuff.
Kablam for printing, and Indie Planet for digital.
There's thousands and thousands and thousands of great books up on indieplanet.com. Go check that out. There's lots and stuff, and there's a lot of free digital downloads on there too. If anybody wants to go up there and just see, a lot of my books are up there. I just put up there for just people to go grab. A lot of my, when I do my own personal stuff, it's more of a cartoony kind of manga, whatever you guys want to pronounce it. Jimmy, little two-head high, little cartoony guys. I really like to draw cartoony stuff when I do my own stuff. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you, Tommy.
Yep.
C. Michael Lanning, we are wrapping up. Can you hear me? You're making gestures. I don't know if you can hear me. So
apparently not.
That just wasn't me.
My name is C. Michael Lanning, and I just want to tell you can find me on Facebook and
his
I was
name
supposed
is
to put my
C.
hand. You
Michael
saw me
Lanning.
talking. That's right.
Okay. I keep losing audio. I don't know what it is.
Before it cuts out again,
That's a problem tonight.
Tell the world.
The weather.
No,
He's got a hurricane
Tommy
heading
seemed like
this
he
way.
was doing a good job. I hate to interrupt. Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead. How can our viewers support you?
You can find me on Facebook at Artist C. Michael Lanning. I have a Twitter. It's C. Michael Lanning. Drop the G, added 2. Don't ask me why. Plus, I got some other stuff that's in the works to be coming up with soon. I'll let y'all know about that. So.
All right. Thank you, sir. And Tim TK, go for it.
I am Tim TK. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Liker at Tim TK Writer. I am on TikTok at Tim Doesn't TikTok, where my niche is somewhere between powerlifting and writing advice. So if you want to learn what Chekhov's gun is or how to improve your bench, I'm there. I'm also on Twitch at AgroBacon, where I'll be live later tonight playing Destiny 2.
Very nice. And I am Scott Wakefield, co-writer and co-creator of Steam Patriots. That's the current project right now in the works, being colored by Dan Hosick, he is What Is File 13 on Facebook. I think his website needs to be updated, so he doesn't like people being pointed there. What Is File 13? That's Dan, the color and letterer. My buddy Rory Boyle, I'll give a shout out.
Maybe he'll be here next week.
He will be. Hopefully, both of them. And Rory flies under the radar. He's a Luddite. So thanks, John. I like that thumbs up there.
How did you do that?
If you go down to the bottom of the screen,
Reactions.
It pops up with reactions. Yeah, you can wave and you can thumbs up.
Good job, guys. And so at Steam Patriots on Facebook and Instagram, and if you like to connect professionally on LinkedIn, Scott Wakefield, Scott M, I believe my middle initial is there, as in Michael, Scott Michael Wakefield. And of course, the plug for Silverline. We are Silverline Comics, silverlinecomics.com. We have crowdfunding campaigns coming up. Keep an eye out for updates. That's how you get your comics right out of the gate. We crowdfund them, you buy them, you order them, you get all the extra goodies. We got swag. We got links to swag from Silverline Comics. Support the independent comics. Support us. We wouldn't be here, as I keep saying, if it weren't for our loyal readers. Share our links. Share these videos. And as always, make mine Silverline. Good night, everybody.
Night all.
Y'all be safe out there.
See ya.